What is the role of an opposition party in a national crisis? That is the question here today. JPU family, welcome to another episode. I'm not going to try and sugarcoat anything here, so I'm just going to talk straight because what we're seeing from the opposition right now is reckless, entitled, and borderline unconstitutional. Jamaica is fighting through a national crisis, and instead of strengthening the country, the PNP is busy building a parallel government, issuing commands like they're the ones in charge, and demanding a level of inclusion that the people of Jamaica did not vote for. So, let us deal with it. What's an opposition supposed to be doing? An opposition has a serious job. Ask the hard questions, challenge decisions, present alternatives, and keep the government honest. But the role stops right there. An opposition is not a substitute government. They're not equal partners in leadership. They're not backup prime ministers waiting on screen time. Their mandate comes from being rejected by the electorate, not chosen. That's what the word opposition means. You do not have the authority to lead. In a crisis, your job is to help the country, not to scramble for relevance. In all my years looking at politics, I've never seen anything like this. The PNP is acting like they run the country. Let's talk about what's really going on here. Because the PNP isn't behaving like an opposition. They're behaving like the government in waiting who can't wait their turn. Press conferences that sound like cabinet announcements, statements as if they're issuing national directives, demands for inclusion that sound, suspiciously like power sharing, media tours, attacking every move of the government, not because it's harmful, but because they're desperate for control. It's a parallel government, plain and simple. And that is not how a democracy works. That is not how leadership is earned. That is not what Jamaica needs right now. Let us talk about the PNP's demand for inclusion. The most outrageous part of this new storyline. We want inclusion in leadership. And that them basically I say, inclusion in leadership. When did that become a thing? Which constitution is that written in? Which election results support that? The people voted. The people elected a government. The people chose who they want to lead. Now the PNP wants to squeeze themselves into leadership through the back doors. That what they want to do? They want to sit at the decision-making table? Really? Without winning the mandate? Without the authority? Without the responsibility? Without the burden of governance? That's not inclusion. That's political hijacking. That's how Mark Golding, Peter Bunting, and the Risers, them hijacked the leadership of the PNP. Watch the pattern. Parallel government is equal to national confusion, and that's exactly what the PNP is doing. Make no mistake about it. What the PNP is doing creates confusion on purpose. A divided leadership image, two voices shouting over each other, two authorities competing for attention. And who suffers? The Jamaican people. This is not the time for political cosplay. This is not the time for theatrics. This is not the time for opposition members acting like cabinet ministers in exile. Come on. During crisis, you need one government speaking with one voice, giving one directive. But the PNP is undermining that unity by pretending to be co-leaders. And that is dangerous. Dangerous for stability, dangerous for recovery, and dangerous for democracy. Let us talk about the elected government and the work that they're doing. Because while the PNP is holding pretend leadership auditions, the actual government is doing the real work. working non-stop with CARICOM, negotiating with world leaders, attending the G20, securing international resources, managing recovery efforts, keeping the country stable, leading from the front. This is the job of the government because they were elected to do it. If the PNP wanted to lead in a crisis, the solution is simple. Win an election. Not whine for access, not demand co-power, not mimic leadership to confuse Jamaicans. Listen, the role of an opposition is not to create chaos. It's not to position yourself as co-prime minister. It's not to weaken the government's legitimacy in the middle of national crisis. Yes, that's exactly what the PNP is doing. They're not behaving like a responsible opposition that they should be. They're behaving like an organization trying to force their way into leadership without the permission of the Jamaican people. And JPU family, we will call it out on every single occasion and every single time we see it. Jamaica needs unity. Jamaica needs stability. Jamaica needs leaders who respect democracy, not manipulate it. One final point on this topic of what the role of the opposition is. One of them is to hold the government accountable and truthful. And what I see the PNP doing is, rather than keeping the government honest, they are using lies and disinformation. The Prime Minister and the government, they're fully aware of it. I heard the Prime Minister called it out in the Parliament yesterday. He said, stop trying to tarnish Jamaica with a lie. What is the lie? That the government is getting resources and money and holding on to it and not allocating it. They perpetuate these lies, and then you see it being disseminated all over social media. That's not holding the government truthful and accountable. You cannot be lying on the government and saying that they're not being truthful. You have to come with the truth. And when you lie on your government, what you're doing is sabotaging your country.
There's a lot of talk about government getting money and not using it, and we have to be so careful that these kinds of careless talk. Now, for the people, Mr. Speaker, I'm about to say something, and I just want to be clear. For the people who are saying it, and gaining influence on persons who don't understand, it is dangerous. Because, there is a public that believes that somehow we sit here and we are trying to somehow take away money that has come for the relief of the people. Let me say this clearly, Mr. Speaker. It would be morally reprehensible for anyone to be using any government resources in any way that has been given or borrowed for relief or any other action to mitigate the damage of this hurricane for any personal or private gain.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for confronting these people on their disinformation. What the Prime Minister also said, which was notable, is that this is not our first disaster, and no one has ever accused us of donating and having any issue with any donations they've made to this country or through us to the country. And we have not heard it. No, this is how the government should be standing up to and confronting the PNP on these lies every time, every day. The PNP has been using this disinformation doctrine over the last 5 years. And look where it got them. Lying on your government only sabotages your country. Plain and simple. But the government is Andrew Holness and the GLP. They don't have to include the PNP. And what the PNP is really asking for is to run the country. Impossible. They need to understand their role as an opposition and stay within that role. Anyway, guys, This is Jamaica Politics Uncovered. Let me know what you think in the chat. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Give this video a thumbs up. Share it with a friend. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.